party people. Welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I am your host as always, Jeff Stormer. This week, I am joined by Wormtooth, formerly known as MC Blackwolf, friend of the show, for the first part of an incredible game of Lovecraftesque. Lovecraftesque is a GM-less shared storytelling game about stories in the vein of, though not necessarily directly riffing on the works of H.P. Lovecraft. Namely, gay stories that capture that sense of cosmic creeping dread and the sense that you are being, haunted by things beyond comprehension, without some of the other parts, the overwhelming racism, sexism, ableism, homophobia, all of the other things that define H.P. Lovecraft's work, the good little kernel without the rest. It is a very cool game. It is a game that I love. You know, the structure of it, the story of one lone investigator slowly unraveling a vast, incomprehensible cosmic horror. It's very cool. I love it. I can't wait for you to hear it. This episode turned out so well. It's going to be great. You can find more information about Lovecraftesque in the show notes. This is also the first of a two-part episode. This covers Act 1 of the game. Next episode, which should drop later this week, I'm thinking Thursday or Friday, will cover the second half of the game, Endgame, the unraveling of our cosmic horror, all of that good stuff. Wormtooth, friend of the show, is, of course, a Philadelphia-based industrial rap artist and the writer-designer of The Man in the Long Coat, an interactive fiction ARG storytelling experience, which you can find at wormtooth.net. It is creepy and weird and unsettling in all the best ways. You should absolutely go check it out. You can find more information about Wormtooth in the show notes. Now, before we dive in, there is one thing that I want to plug and promote on air, and that is the Corazon Bundle RPG Jam. This is a collection of games, LARPs, analog, games, all supporting RACES, the Refugee and Immigrant Center for Education and Legal Services, and Lawyers for Good Government's Project Corazon Travel Fund. These are all organizations that are specifically helping immigrants detained at the southern border and raising money to support them, provide education, legal support, all of these things. It's a wonderful cause. You can have access to all of these games for a $10 donation to either of those organizations. You can send proof of that to corazonbundle@gmail.com. My own game, Empty Orchestra, a freeform LARP of karaoke and revolution, is among those games. I think it is a wonderful bundle of games supporting a wonderful cause. I think that you should donate if you haven't already. And if you have, go get some cool games. I think it's, it is important that we be actively, supporting these causes and fighting the good fight, and this is a wonderful way to do it. So take some time and do that. Again, that is corazonbundle@gmail.com, a $10 donation to either RACES or Project Corazon Travel Fund. Either of those gets you a ton of cool games. Go do that. It is a wonderful cause that I thoroughly support. And with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. This week, I am super excited to be sitting down with my good friend Wormtooth. Wormtooth, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Thank you. Jeff, how's it going?
It's going very, very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I've been having it's been a good Wormtooth year.
I'm glad to hear that. So why don't you take a moment at the top of the show to let the listeners at home know about any projects that you've got going on that you might want them to know about.
So I just put out my first album as Wormtooth. I had been on the show before as MC Blackwolf, which was an old project I was working. And, now I'm doing this thing, Wormtooth. You can find more about it at wormtooth.net. I dropped the album. It's called Breach. And when I released it, I also released an ARG, that goes along with it called The Man in the Long Coat, which is, I guess a little more of a story at this point than it is, so much a game, but there are a lot of puzzle elements.
I played through about the first quarter of it, a while back, and it was like creepy and weird in the best possible way. So I really do recommend that people go play the game, play through the whole thing.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm going to be doing another one for the next album, the next full-length album, and they take a while to put together, so it's kind of, I'm going to be starting the process in that soon, so I may reach out to you, because I feel like you'd probably be a good fit.
I thank you. I do. I honestly love ARGs, and puzzles and things, so it's definitely like up my alley. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing from you about that.
Yeah, I played your it was like the one player RPG.
Oh, the Story's End. I love that
Yeah,
game.
that was really, really fun. And it's the type of thing that I think would work really well in the project that I'm trying to put together.
Nice.
So.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm super that makes me super happy. What a great start to our recording. I love it.
Cool.
Yeah. So this week, we are playing Lovecraftesque, very appropriate given you and your ARG and everything that you've got going on right now. Lovecraftesque is a GM-less game of creeping investigative horror in the vein of, but not directly telling stories of like those of H.P. Lovecraft. In the rulebook, I do appreciate that they call out that these stories should not have a lot of the things in them that Lovecraft stories have, namely the horrific racism, sexism, and xenophobia.
Yeah, those are unfortunate.
I appreciate that this is a book that the thing I like about this game is that it very much says, like, here's how to tell a story that's like that, but without the horrifying parts.
Right. Well, the good horrifying, keep the good horrifying, leave out the bad horrifying.
Yes, right. It tells you how to keep the stuff that's good without the very, very bad.
Yeah. That's definitely something. I just recently read through them, it's like more in depth for the first time since the first time I did an audiobook of it, and it's just so much more
it's real bad.
It's very brutal to deal with when someone is just saying it.
Yeah.
The horrible things, and you have to hear it. It's like, oh, I feel like this is uncomfortable. Can't really skip this part.
Oh, yeah, we're just gonna be here for a while.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into telling our own story of investigative, unraveling horror, and we're going to start that by doing a little bit of setup. Okay. The first thing that we want to kind of decide is we need to kind of decide, like, when and where our story is, like, set.
Okay.
Do you have, we can do something in sort of in the more traditional, like, 1920s or 1890s. We can do a modern day story or a futuristic game or, like, what...
I think modern day would be fun.
I think so as too. I feel like a modern day story of this is cool.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the era. Where do we picture this being set? Is this like a big city story? Is this a country story? Is this, out in the wild? What are you picturing?
Let's see. I guess I was thinking more, I was just originally thinking city, but maybe, what about, like, city characters that are in the country? That is a particular source of anxiety for me as someone in the city that frequently goes into the country, right. So that is a type of horror that I'm very acquainted with, so yes, I'm all in. Like maybe an Airbnb situation.
Oh, that's very good. So the initial setup is that our witness is going somewhere, getting an Airbnb, like, out in the middle of nowhere, that's real good. That's a good starting hook. Okay. I'm in.
Good.
So, now that we've got that, we each should lay out two kind of just quick one-sentence kind of ideas for locations where our story will be set. These are separate places, more specific places within the main location, so they can be parts of our Airbnb, parts of the town or region that we're in, stuff that we're going to be seeing in the course of our story. Okay. If unless you have really specific thoughts on the Airbnb, I kind of have a specific picture of it.
Okay. No, go ahead.
I love the idea that this is, like, not a cabin in the woods situation. Okay. It's sort of a nice ranch style house on the outskirts of a town on like against the woods. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I picture almost not like the Wild West towns, but like close, a modern day equivalent where it's just like two streets, and then there's there's the one street that just goes down to these, like, this one house, and then, like, there's a church back there somewhere, but no one goes to that church anymore.
And a gas station, mini mart where that's the only place to buy, like, cigarettes or Coca-Cola in the neighborhood. Yeah. And I think that the house in specific is, like, nice, and I'm gonna specifically just write down a nice enough Airbnb.
Okay.
Where it's like not a rundown shack, right? It's not the prototypical like horrible house. It is the kind of place that you would stay at if you booked an Airbnb, where it's like everything is nice but kind of like cleaned up a little too recently.
Can I ask you a question about the Airbnb?
Yeah.
So, is it the people leave and you have the whole run of the house, or is it one of the situations where they have like a small apartment or hotel room type thing in a house where you can hear them moving around?
Oh, that's super creepy and weird. It's gotta be that they're just like, it's like a Fonzie situation where they're like renting you the room above the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, alright. It's a room above a garage. It's like a one room apartment above a garage.
Which was like a converted barn.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was a barn, now it's a garage.
Yep.
Okay.
So what other locations do we want to see in this? Like, what else is in our little tiny neighborhood?
So, I picture that the street we're on, right? Mm-hmm. In one direction is the town.
Yep.
And in the other direction is, like, some kind of a, the thing that people always, like, come here to see sometimes. Like,
okay.
It's not like a tourist thing, but for specific people, it's kind of like, you know, whether that be, you know, exploring a ruin or a cave or a
Can I throw out a suggestion?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it a historical battleground?
Sure. I buy that. That's very close. I've been around a lot of those, so that...
I have as well. My family used to take trips every year to Gettysburg, so, like, that kind of, like, here's a tiny little Airbnb, and here's, like, a cannon that has been sitting here for 100 years.
Okay. I'm going to say Revolutionary.
Yep.
War, so that it's just older.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I would love for one of the locations to be the mini mart.
Yeah, I like, okay. Mini mart.
As just like a creep, like the prototypical rundown, you know.
Well, it's like, it's the store where you can buy your equipment. Like,
yeah.
Floss.
Yeah. It's definitely got everything. It's got that very mini mart energy where, like, you turn a corner and you're like, why do you have bullets, but no guns?
Okay.
And it's just like, oh, and here's pre-wrapped sandwiches.
Right,
cool.
Right, okay. So yeah, it's very specific needs.
Yeah. And there's no rhyme or reason to the layout.
Except that there is just a huge section on history of the battleground.
Yep.
Like it's like it's almost like there are two mini marts.
Yep.
But it's the same person. He has to go to the other, like he has to walk all the way across to the other cashier.
Yep.
For those, but it's like just like two things of jerky and whatever, and then like, oh, you want to know the names of every single soldier. Mm-hmm. And then loves talking about it. Just like gets real involved.
Real good. So what's one more location around around this tiny little like historical battleground tourist trap town?
So I had originally said a church. I'm thinking something like a church, but not a church. Right?
A community, like a church converted into a community center or art space?
Yeah, or how about like the like city hall, right? Mm-hmm. Like, but the city hall is also their DMV. It's also, you know what I mean? It's like all the records are kind of jumbled there. There's like three very talented but very overworked people because they literally do every single thing for the town, except the police. Yep. Right? But it was a church. And of course there are so many rumors about it being haunted.
Of course. Oh, that's great. I freaking love that. That's very good. All right. So we've got our locations. Now we kind of take some time to lay out who our witness is. This is the person that will be subjected to like true, mind-breaking horror. We have one witness that will be shared between the two of us. We'll be handing control of this character back and forth. We've already so the things we need to know are a name, so who they are.
Right.
They need to know the reason that they're here, one personality trait, and a source of strength that keeps them grounded and forces them to continue on. Whether that's an internal thing or an external thing.
So the name, reason for being here, personality trait, what was the last one?
A source of strength, something that keeps them pushing closer and closer to the edge.
Okay. My immediate idea was that he's here. The reason the person is here to write something. Mm-hmm. Like a book, a script. Like they came to a place where they knew there was poor reception.
Yeah.
Like that was a selling point.
And I think that the battleground is part of it too. I'm picturing like a trashy screenplay.
Yes. Maybe
jumps out at me.
About the time period.
Yep.
Like they're writing a historical, they want to write like the next like what's it called? Braveheart, but
yeah,
about the Revolutionary War, and it's going to be real gritty and like
what you're thinking of is Mel Gibson's The Patriot?
The Patriot, yes. Okay, fair. Maybe that's why it popped into my head. Okay, so maybe they're not making a movie. How about they're making...
What about like an HBO, what an HBO miniseries or like a limited series?
Okay, they had a show. It did very well, right? Like, not like it did well in testing and everything. They bought it. It never aired. So this person's not famous or anything. But they hired them to work on a revolutionary TV show, right? Like, this is what this is what we need you to do. I think we need a name for the town and for the movie, right?
The town is named, trying to think of the most Revolutionary War town name imaginable. I'm gonna go,
what about Old Guthriesville?
Old Guthrie's Road?
Old Guthrie's Road, and that's the name of the town.
That's the name of the whole town.
And that's not the main road. That's the other main road. Like there's like a main road, which is Main Street, and then there's Old Guthrie.
Yep.
Old Guthrie Road. I love it.
Old Guthrie Road in Old Guthrie Road. Like Virginia, I guess? Is that an appropriately Revolutionary War state?
I mean, I believe like most of them in this area, like in the, Pennsylvania, I mean, like even further up, right? But like, Virginia. It's gotta have been in Virginia.
Yeah, let's go Virginia.
Okay.
Actually, let's go Pennsylvania. Let's go like out west, like out in the woods, Pennsylvania.
Like the kind of Pennsylvania where they have like the real thick accents and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that don't sound like Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Got it.
Old Guthrie's Road, our witness, I want to name him...
So, you just said Old Guthrie's Road, and I had written down Old Guthrie Road, so I'm gonna say, can the street be named one of those two, but the town is named the other one?
Yes.
Great. So, I'm gonna say the street is Old Guthrie Road, but then the town is Old Guthrie's Road.
Yep.
Great.
Love it. Our witness is named... What is his name about Max Caldwell?
Max Caldwell? I like that.
That feels very Hollywood. That feels very, like, mid-level Hollywood screenwriter.
Yeah. I feel like Caldwell is also a fake name.
Yeah.
Like, that's their professional name.
And if we can find their real name in play if we decide to go down that road. But,
So what is the name of the TV show?
The name of the TV show is...
What about
Guns... Oh, go ahead. Oh,
Guns Over Guthrie?
I was going to say Guns Over Guthrie. Like, that was exactly what I was about to say.
When you said guns, in my head, I heard it. Guns Over Guthrie, and then under it says Guthrie's Road. I love it. Guns Over Guthrie. It's perfect.
So, I think his personality trait... What do we think about a personality trait and a source of strength?
They are they're normally inquisitive, right? Mm-hmm. But there's this huge, like, stress of, like, they sent them here to get all of the information from this, like, everything has to be correct. It's HBO.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
none of the information
not TV,
can be
it's
wrong.
HBO.
Right. Exactly. Like, all of the, like, they're like, we want this to be, in the pitch meeting, the person was like, we want this to be Game of Thrones, but with the Revolutionary War. And we want all of the characters to be based on real people, because then those people's ancestors will watch it. Like, that is literally the reason that they're doing it, is because they think it'll help ratings.
Yeah.
But it has to be perfect then.
So then I think the personality trait is stressed and the source of strength is inquisitive. Like,
Okay.
Like, he's brought here because he's going to get these answers, and that's what makes him so good, like, so effective. But his personality trait is that, like, that he has to deliver the new Game of Thrones in, like, 4 days.
Right. And he's, like, part of a team. So he also knows that none of it doesn't even matter, because he's kind of the new person. Like, I actually like, he's not even really writing the screenplay. It's a screenplay that he has to fit to the story of what happened, right? Like, the screenplay is already written, but it was about a different
He's just
war.
doing a punch-up job.
Right. Maybe it was about, like, it wasn't about the Revolutionary War, and they changed it last minute. And so he's here to make sure that names and stories kind of vaguely match up.
Yep. Okay, all right, and that's our witness. I feel like I know him better than I know myself.
Yeah, he's good.
Okay, so now what's going to happen is first thing we're going to do is play through part 1, which is 5 scenes. The way each scene works is one of us will be the narrator, in charge of introducing the world, playing out other characters, and also, most importantly, revealing a strange clue, which hints at the true horror, but can be rationalized away.
Okay.
One of us will be that, and the other will be the witness. The other will play Max Caldwell encountering these things, tell us what happens to him and how he kind of reacts to things, and then we'll play through these 5 scenes, and then we'll go into part 2. In between each scene, we will jump to conclusions, where we will we will not from this point on talk out of character or out of context about the story being told. So in between each scene, we will silently write down the horrible thing that we think is happening, which will change from scene to scene.
And, so you're saying we won't talk out of character about what's happening?
Yeah.
Although we can clarify, like, we can ask to clarify?
Yeah. Like, if we're like, okay, so yeah, if it's like, okay, so he's here at this time, we can clarify that. We can't say, okay, so this is the thing that's happening.
Right, but we could say, like, AM or PM, or, like, do you mean, like, the wall was painted black, or everything is dark?
Yeah.
Right, okay, cool.
Yep.
Got it.
Okay. Would you be alright if I took the first scene? Because I have a good idea for a first clue.
I would really appreciate it, because I would like to see how that part is done before I start. Let me think about Max Caldwell's voice. Mm-hmm. How old is Max Caldwell?
I see him as mid-20s, early 30s.
So, but I actually picture him like real young.
Okay,
like 23.
Okay,
like,
23 is good.
Like, shouldn't have gotten
this is his break.
Chance.
This is his moment.
Right.
Okay. So this is unfolding our first scene is in the mini mart. You've just arrived. You had to Uber from the airport, and it was about an hour and a half.
Okay.
It cost $127. This is all comped. Like that stuff's all expensed, but like you still had to look at your Uber and confirm $127 charge.
Right. And then you in the Uber, it was just like constant arguing or trying to explain like, no, I didn't grow up having this kind of lifestyle. It's just
I've never been down here.
Right.
So you dropped off your stuff at the Airbnb. You met the St. Jives family. St. Jives family. We will say Eartha St. Jives.
Eartha St. Jives.
And we'll go Desmond St. Jives.
Desmond St. Jives.
Very kindly old couple, just happy to have somebody else around. Right. We've had an empty nest for longer than we can remember.
Eartha kept talking to him about the internet and how connected she was to the internet. Mm-hmm. But she does it from the library.
Yep. So you have to get out of there eventually. So you head to the mini mart.
Okay.
What are you looking for? Really specific thing are you looking for in the mini mart?
So, I'm going to the mini mart for directions about somewhere where I can get information about the town tomorrow.
Okay.
Right? Like about about like the history of the town and the history of the battle tomorrow.
Yeah. So you're grabbing some tour, you find some tour schedules. There's the walking tour, there's the haunted ghost tour at night.
Right.
You grab some pamphlets, you bring them up. Roy, who is behind the counter, tiny little man, very Ed Asner-esque, says, rings you up, very quiet, is just kind of friendly. You watch him walk over from one cash register to the other, and he gets over, and right as he kind of starts to ring up your last few things, he kind of points you to a pamphlet and kind of leans over. Excuse me. Are you Max Caldwell?
Yes?
I'm sorry. I gotta say, this is a little embarrassing. I try to keep it professional. But I gotta say, I was such a big fan of The Swordsman. The Swordsman was a great show. Thought it was fantastic. Loved it.
Thank you. I feel I really lucked out. It was just a great cast and everything.
Now, as we discussed, Swordsman did not come out.
Right.
I got the scene with.
I feel like he just goes into that automatically because he's just the last year has just been people telling. Lying and saying they love the thing. Do you know what I mean? And it takes him a full moment to realize that this person wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Right? How did you see this? How did you know the swordsman?
Oh, I see. I know you're a little confused. Yeah, we do get we got it. We started getting HBO here maybe 2 years ago. It took them a while to get it in. The cable company put up a stink, but with the Game of Thrones, they couldn't keep it away. And I gotta tell you, I came for Game of Thrones, but I gotta tell you, I stayed for Swordsman. The scene with the duel on the cliffside, genius, perfectly genius.
The duel on the cliffside in season 1 or in season 3?
Season 1 was, I don't mean to knock the season 3 one, but season 1, that first time you see it is genius. I feel like the season 3, and I don't think this is you. I know you're working with a whole team. It was a little derivative, and I feel like we had kind of crossed that road already. So I'm keeping you. You need to get on your way. I don't want to, make you feel. Anytime you want to come by, I'll give you for Max the Swordsman Caldwell. I'll give you a discount.
Thank you. Do you have any? Do you know where I could get a DVD of it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, I could get you. You're not gonna rat me out. Are you a cop?
I mean, I'm Max Caldwell. I know it kind of sounds like a cop name, but I'm not. I could
get you a recording of it from our DVR.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to see how it transfers to here. To this area.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds great. I'll come back by tomorrow and I'll have it for you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. You take it easy. You tell Eartha and Desmond I said hello. Oh, you tell them to come back down sometimes. They never come by anymore.
What was your name?
I'm Roy. I'm Roy.
Roy?
Just Roy's fine.
Oh, okay, Roy. Oh, all right. Have a good. Oh, do you have to ring me up for this jerky?
No, it's on
over. Okay. I leave.
And I think as you walk out, there's that moment where you stand there and you think about it, and I think that as you get back in your car and you drive the 5 minutes back up to the house is where we end our first scene.
So I don't have a car, right?
Oh yeah, right.
They lent me a bike. They lent me a bike.
Yep, you have to ride. Yep, you hop on their bike.
It's very clearly a kid's bike, but he is small.
It's a very rusty kid's bike also.
Okay.
Like it is, like I said, they've been empty nesters for a very long time.
It's like it's rusty, but it runs fine. Like he's on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so just to clear up, now I write what I think is going on.
Yeah, now we each take a moment and we jump to conclusions, which is to say we just write down the first thought about like what is happening that like is that we think is like unfolding.
Now, is this what I suspect? Sorry, what I suspect you want, or what I want?
This is what you think. This is what you think is happening at this moment.
Okay.
So it can be entirely what you want. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, as you like, this is what you Wormtooth think. Like, okay, like here that playing out that scene. This is what you Wormtooth go. Okay, this is what's happening. I've got my thoughts. They're very sketched out at this point, but I have them.
Yeah, mine is 3 words, but I think it's accurate.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now we play out. Now you're going to take the role of the narrator, and you're going to play out a brief scene and introduce our next clue, which is our next weird thing that pushes us a little closer to this horrible confidant.
Okay. So I feel like when you step out, now you got in early this morning, you kind of did all the things, and Eartha and Desmond walked you around their entire property.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the country. The property is huge. They showed you both of one of them is a lake, one of them is a pond. The pond was actually bigger than the lake. But, the
lake is kind of dried up at this point.
Right. But they say that when it gets rainy, like, forget about it. But they spent so long doing that when you got to the mini mart, it was, kind of getting on in the afternoon, the evening. It's fall now, so it's actually kind of beginning to get dark, as you step out of the mini mart. Now you just came down from the Eartha and Desmond's, Airbnb, right? So, are you going back to the Airbnb, or are you going up the main street into, Old Guthrie's Road?
I think I gotta go back. I think I'm too obsessed with like what I just heard to like, I don't think I want to wait until tomorrow. I think I want to see if maybe maybe Desmond and Eartha have HBO Go, if I can just like find it.
Okay.
I and if nothing else, like I want to see that it's not on there.
Okay.
To shake this idea and just acknowledge that I'm probably a little delirious from the flight.
Got it.
So that I can then like go back to writing, because I gotta hit this deadline. I got 4 days.
Right. So you step out and you turn to your left where you had put the bike in the bike rack. They told you don't have to worry about locking it up. And the bike is not there. The bike rack is not there. Turn to your right and the bike rack is there. You swear the bike rack was over to the left. But you are really tired. And that whole thing really threw you for a loop.
It's super late.
But the bike is, it's there. And I guess you weren't really paying attention, but you didn't remember it having a basket.
It definitely didn't, because I had to like stuff my wallet and like I had to put all my things in my back pockets.
Right.
Because like I have to kick with the front, so I couldn't use my front pockets, so like I couldn't really sit in the seat. So like that, I'm gonna use the basket now that I have it, but like it definitely wasn't here.
It's kind of a small. Ago. It's kind of a small basket. Like it's a little, I don't know. It's rusty, so it kind of is the same color as the bike. Mm-hmm. So maybe you were thinking about. I don't know, but
I might have just missed it.
You head back, and it feels a lot shorter than heading there, as often that kind of thing does.
Right.
Not exceptionally shorter, but you get there. You kind of know the way already. And you have the key to the garage.
Yep.
Which looks like a big barn.
I open up I like unlock the lock on the front and I lift it up and I bring the bike inside because they insisted that, I don't need to lock it, but I should bring the bike inside to be respectful.
Right. So, the thing that you notice immediately is there's like a fridge that is right near the door. There's like a little kitchenette thing. There's not really a kitchen, but they have a sink and they have like a hot plate and they have a fridge right there. And there is a weird brown kind of sludge that is coming out of the freezer. And you immediately remember that you had taken one of the warm Cokes from your book bag and put it in the freezer.
I'm going to go up and I'm going to touch the sludge and put it, smell it, maybe taste it if it doesn't smell awful.
It's definitely the Coke that you had put in the freezer. You were going to drink it before you went, and when you were caught up, they took you on the whole tour. You totally forgot. It's everywhere on the outside of the...
I mean, I'm tired. You know what? I shouldn't be writing today, so I'm going to gather my rags, and this is embarrassing. I got to clean this up, or they're gonna give me a bad rating, and I can't have a bad rating because I need to be on location. So I think I just I try to put it out of my head, and I keep looking at the TV. Little TV. It's got the little set-top box, and I just keep scrubbing.
So as you're cleaning, you realize you have to open the freezer as well. Mm-hmm. And they had said that you're more than welcome to have anything. There's, you're a little surprised because other than the hot plate, everything is kind of, and the hot plate and the bike are the two things that are just, you can tell that it's been in the family. And so they think they gave you something good just because it's an heirloom. But everything else, the TV's small, but it's a nice TV. And, they have like a Bluetooth thing that allows you to connect your phone to the TV. Like everything's kind of nice. So you're a little surprised that they got Torino's pizza rolls instead of Totino's pizza rolls when they got, all of the other stuff seems to be kind of brand name, but it just seems like generic knockoff, but it's all covered in the Coke. Everything is covered in the Coke.
I'm gonna have to apologize. I'm gonna focus on cleaning this up, and I think I'm just gonna try and. So I think what happens. I think the scene kind of ends with me just like cleaning and scrubbing, and I just keep looking at the TV. Mm-hmm. And I look out the window, or I look behind me at the bike. And I'm looking at the TV, and I'm looking at the Torinos, and I'm looking. And, I clean, and it's late. The sun has fully gone down. It takes me, 2 hours. And I finally just sit down, and I've got my laptop next to me on the little, 2-seat love seat that they've given me. And I'm going to reach for that remote.
Okay. So you turn on the TV. It goes up, it goes to a menu. It's like a similar to a Roku type menu.
Yep.
And it has Netflix on there. It has Amazon Prime. And then grayed out is HBO Go. But you can still click on it. You just can't play any of the episodes.
All right, I'll deal with that tomorrow. And I turn it off, and I'm going to go to bed.
Okay.
We'll deal with that tomorrow.
Okay. So do we wake up in the morning or?
I think that might be scene.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a really good scene.
Yeah.
So now we're going to jump to conclusions again. So write down what we think is happening.
So then I am him.
Yeah. And now I'm going to take over.
Okay.
What's my next? Let me think about the clue for just a moment.
Right, and we can cut forward in time if we want, right?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be strictly the next thing.
Yeah.
I think I I have my clue.
Okay.
I think this is later the next day. I think that you've put this out of your mind a little bit, right?
Okay.
You know, what have you been doing to put all of this out of your mind since last night?
So I feel like Max Caldwell, I'm really good at memorization.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one of the reasons that the Swordsman got picked up really well, is because when they asked for things in the meeting, he was able to like actually just pull full scenes that he had written. And so one of the things he's been doing is he has picked up had a death record of like all the people that were in the war, right? And he kind of is going to go and look and ask for these specific people, but he just kind of goes through them, like has made it not like a chant, but like almost like when you like have like, you're saying something to yourself and you do it to the tune of a song, you know, like, so he's like doing it to the tune of like, "Hey Mickey, you're so fine." But it's just like Ted Stewart, Venom Mouse, like it's all just names of people. And that's how he remembers them, is because of the song that he just, Weird Al'd from, "Hey Mickey, you're so fine."
And so I think that, like you said, you're going to see all of these grave sites, and you're doing kind of a graveyard tour.
Right.
Which, as you're kind of walking and doing the memorization, and, you pass by two of the graves.
Okay.
And you stop for a second, and you look, and you think about it. You kind of run the song in your head once or twice.
Sure.
And you realize that, like, in the records that you've been kind of studying, that you'd kind of spent all morning kind of reading through as you were kind of on the tour bus, giving you the very general tour.
Right.
The name that's in front of you, Marlon Burnside.
Yep.
Wasn't listed, which, I mean, there's probably a lot of names that weren't listed, but
there wasn't even a Burnside.
Yeah.
Like, Burnside is like a pretty big name from, at the time there weren't that many Burnsides, so it was likely that related to the, later Burnside, that's something that you want to put in there. Plus, it's a great name for the show. Burnside.
And that's when it hits you.
Yeah.
This screenplay, Guns Over Guthrie.
Yeah.
It started as Guns Over Gettysburg.
Mm-hmm.
General Burnside... Wait, let me actually remember which war General Burnside fought in. Was he even a governor? Was he even in the war?
He wasn't. No. That's from I think Civil War.
Yeah.
But I'm going to look it up because I do not want to seem foolish. I mean, you can keep all of this in. This still makes me seem foolish.
No, he was a colonel. He was a colonel in the Rhode Island militia. So he was a general. Who's General Ambrose Burnside in the Civil War? Okay,
great. And in the Mexican-American War as well.
Yeah. So yeah,
number of battles.
Yeah. So Guns Over Guthrie was originally Guns Over Gettysburg. It was this very, like, sweeping... They call it Guns Over Gettysburg, but it was very much like a sweeping, like, almost anthology series.
Right.
And Marlon Burnside was one of the characters, like, a fictionalized character, but one of the characters in the screenplay Guns Over Gettysburg. Like, the fictional son of General Ambrose Burnside.
All of a sudden, I'm just like, okay, hold on. And I run through the Buddy Holly, the song Buddy Holly by Weezer, but I've replaced all of them with the characters from the Civil War movie. And then it's like, I look just like Burnside. Yes, okay, it was from that one.
Yep.
He has a good memory, but he has to go through the song every time.
Yep. He's got to go through, and it's like every chorus was a different list of names, so he's got to get through like the last chorus.
Right. He doesn't have to finish the song, do the outro or anything, but he does have to get to the last chorus.
Yeah, and that's one of the names from Guns Over Gettysburg. I mean, it could be a coincidence, right? Like, there's no saying that couldn't be.
They stole this movie from this thing, and then they're transferring it back. Like, I feel like immediately, Max, like, the way Max rationalizes this to himself is that the studios are really not great and dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And this was Guns Over Guthrie, then became Guns Over Gettysburg, and then they were fictional names because they didn't bother doing the thing, which is why they're sending him out to make sure the names are correct, because they got yelled at about the Gettysburg one. That must be what's happening.
It's gotta be.
That's what Max is thinking. Oh, like, that's just like how he is like, oh, well, and then so he immediately starts taking down all of the names. Cause he can't get it wrong.
And you know, you go through like 15 of them, and every single time you go through Mickey and you remember, yep, that's there. Aaron Thomas. Okay, yeah, no, that's that one. And then, you know, but one or two more times, you find yourself singing. You catch a name, and it's that moment of like you know the name, but you can't place it until you connect it to the melody, and then you connect it to Buddy Holly.
Right.
A few more times.
Okay.
Probably like 3 or 4 more times.
Yeah. Ugh. That's so weird.
So what do you do? What do you do after you see all of this? The tour bus that you're kind of on, like the Ghosts of Guthrie Road tour is like they start to call everybody and tell them to get back on the bus because they're going to the next site.
Okay. How many other people are there?
There are it's you and I'm going to say 3 other people.
Okay.
One who is like an old professor type.
Okay.
You know, here for academic reasons. One person, and there are 3 people who have come separately. One who's wearing one of the t-shirts from Roy's, who has a hat and a camera and is like super tourist, and somebody, a very nice old lady that you can tell just is here, like lives here and takes this tour
all the
2
time.
or 3 times a week.
Okay. So I write down the names that I had, and I, start thinking about a song.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that many names, so probably a shorter song that I can remember these names on command. Yep. And I head back to the tour, I guess. Okay,
yeah. So you get back on the bus rides off, and I think that's where we call our scene.
Okay.
I am writing down what I think is unfolding.
So what if our thing hasn't changed?
Then you can just write it down again.
And that means that's where the direction we're going, or can we just suddenly decide to go a different way?
You can absolutely just throw in details to kind of like mess with the story that you think is happening.
Okay.
Like that is because I will say briefly, that is what I thought. Like, I had a pretty clear idea between scenes 1 and 2, so I kind of wanted to just kind of throw in a thing to mess with it a little bit.
Yeah, cool. I love it. All right.
So it is where and when is our next scene taking place?
The bus drops everyone off at their house.
Mm-hmm.
But the bus driver, Steve Jobs, no relation.
Yep. Says that every single time.
Right. And like that's basically his second last name. Like every time he says his name, he says Steve Jobs, no relation. And he also, there's a moment where he says, well, you're like, wow, you know a lot of your stuff. And he's like, well, it's my job, no relation. Like,
yep.
Like he does it anytime he says job, he thinks it's the funniest thing in the world.
It's hilarious.
Is beefing with Eartha St. Gives because of, there was their property borders, and there was an apple tree that was on both of their property, and one time she took all of the apples from the tree to make apple pies for both of them, but he was planning on doing a bobbing for apples, like, thing for the town for Halloween, and he has never forgiven her for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the pie was okay.
Yeah,
but
sure.
he doesn't drive up to their house. So he drops you off at the gas station, at the mini mart, which, is a gas station, but they only have one pump.
Yep.
And that's kind of where you wanted to go anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a meeting with Roy.
Right.
I was supposed to stop by here.
And they've been closed. You did stop by twice, but they were closed.
Yep. Yep. Third time's got to be the charm, right?
Their hours were marked, and you were beyond those hours, but it was closed.
Yeah. Are they open now?
So a weird thing that he says, that Steve says, as Jobs, no relation, as he drives away, he kind of opens his window and he says, good luck with that, as he kind of leaves, kind of goofily. It's weird. You're kind of looking at him, and then when you look back, you kind of realize that it looks like there's nothing on the shelves and there's nothing in the store. It looks like it was could have been abandoned for a week, could have been abandoned for several months. It's not there's no dust or anything, but it definitely doesn't look like it was open yesterday.
I'm going to check. I have a little messenger bag that I keep my stuff in.
Yeah.
And I'm going to check that messenger bag and see if I have the pamphlets that I got from Roy's. See if they're in the bag still.
Yeah, you have those pamphlets.
Do I have the jerky?
They're the same pamphlets. You don't, and you think to yourself oh my God, and then you see that you have the wrapper from the jerky, and you must have eaten it. And you are a sleep eater. You get up, you eat, you never remember it. You're apparently awake because you sometimes will write things down, but you don't have it's just the thing. You do have a little note though.
I'm gonna look at the little note.
It says buy more jerky.
Well, that's helpful.
There's a question mark at the end.
Good. Well, I've got to do right by myself. So I'm going to poke around. I think the first thing I want to look at is I'm going to look, is there still a sign? Is there still that sign that says Roy's on it? Is it, or is there a sign there, period?
There is a sign. It says Roy's, but the O is broken. It's not lit up. Right? It's not a light up sign. It's a wooden sign, but it's there's a wooden R, a wooden O, and a wooden, Y, and the O is cracked, in the center as if it soon will fall apart. You can just tell that it looks like it's going to fall apart. And the sign looked painted yesterday.
Right.
It was fresh, it was, bright green and yellows, very, very, new.
Is my bike still on the rack?
Yes, but it's on the right side.
Okay. Well, at least that hasn't changed since yesterday. That's
it has though,
right?
Because it was on the left side, right?
It was on the left side when I got here, then I left. Well, at least I thought it was on the left side, then it was on the right side. So if it's still on the right side,
but you're looking at the mini mart now.
Oh, so it would be.
So it's actually.
It's
on the original side.
That's just me getting directions jumbled up. That's fine. That's just me getting confused, is what that is. That's nothing weird.
It's been a weird day.
I got to figure out where I can buy some jerky, since Roy's has always been. Where did I get the pamphlet? Okay, I got to sit down and chat with the St. Jives, because if nothing else, I feel like maybe there's an indie short film in this apple pie drama that I feel like I could mine maybe short film Oscar out of.
So as you're saying this, you kind of look across the street. You're just kind of throwing your hands up, what am I gonna Where did I get the? Right when you say where did I get the things, your eye catches on kind kind of across town, all the way down the street, there is a mini mart, and it is called Roy and Sons. But it is like on the other side of town. And you weren't really paying that much attention when you got in. It was like the bus and everything, or the Uber, you know, it was very chatty. And you didn't really pay attention, but it's weird because it's the same font as the sign for Roy's.
I guess I gotta visit with Roy first. I mean, I did promise I would stop by. At least I think I promised I would stop by. I mean, I thought I did. But I thought it was on... I mean, I think I'm gonna hop on my bike and start riding across town.
Okay. As you're riding, someone yells from a window, "Staying with the St. Jives, huh?" As they see you roll by in the rusty bike. But you don't really know, you don't see anyone, like, you don't know where the window was. It's just someone kind of yelling at you. And you get to the mini mart, Ray and Sons.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's Roy was, kind of an older guy.
Yeah.
Ray is, there's a guy, he has a tag, it says Ray, and looks so much like Roy that this is clearly Roy's son. Or maybe Roy's nephew, but based on the sign, you can kind of put together that Ray is Roy's son.
Okay. But then his son is... I mean, he was very old. Like, it's possible he was a grandfather. That's entirely possible. That's reasonable.
Right.
All right.
So, do you walk in? You're just kind of standing there looking at him, and he's like, "May I help? May I help you?"
Is Roy in?
Not today. I can get him a mess. What? He doesn't really work anymore. He retired after giving me the
store. Sure.
I convinced him to move it. He kind of. Well, how do you know? I'm sorry. He doesn't have a lot of teenage friends.
That's fine. We talked about TV together. I'll check in.
He does
later.
he does love TV. Did you meet him at the diner?
Yes, I did. Do you think he might be there?
I mean, what's today? Wednesday?
Is it Wednesday? Frick, I got 2 days on this fucking appointment.
He's usually there on Thursdays. You can catch him around lunch.
Okay. That sounds great.
But he's old. They do lunch early.
No, thank you, Ray. I'm Max, by the way. If anybody, if just putting that out there. Nice to meet you. Nice to make a friend. I've got some work I got to get done.
Max Baldwell. Max Baldwell. Caldwell. Oh. My dad really loves that, the Sportsman.
Yeah, that's the one.
Is it the Sportsman?
No, the Swordsman. It's the Swordsman.
No? The Deadliest Sport. That's the one. He watches your Deadliest Sport, right?
That's the one. You know what? The thing is, it's kind of an underground hit, and so I don't realize that a lot of people have seen it. I gotta get going, but I'm gonna see if I can grab your dad, because I've got some memorabilia that I was gonna give him, some Deadliest Sport memorabilia.
Okay.
So you know what, Ray? It's super nice to meet you. And I'm gonna get going.
Turning to leave, there is a thing that catches your eye, and it is a People magazine.
Yep.
On which a person that looks very much like you, but wearing sunglasses that you would never wear, and slick back hair is on the cover. And it very clearly says, Caldwell, money problems?
Okay, well, guess I gotta go. I'm gonna grab the magazine, slam some cash on the counter, and just bolt it.
Okay. As the last thing that you hear as you leave, he says, what kind of coins are these?
Yep.
That's it. That's
the end of the scene.
Yeah.
Okay, I've written down my jump to conclusions.
Yep.
And I'm gonna throw some. Okay, I feel like I'm ready for the next scene with the clue that I kind of want to throw in.
Okay.
So you're back at the house.
At the Eartha and Desmond barn.
Yeah, you're in the barn, you're in the garage, you're in the attic, like you're in the apartment. It's been a few hours.
Yeah.
What have you have spent the last few hours writing? What have you been writing down?
So I feel like the first thing that Max did when they got back was just immediately check all of their stuff, like all of the things that they had interacted with, to make sure that it all looks the same.
All exactly the same.
I feel like then they quickly double check the important things.
Yep.
Even to the point of like checking the freezer to see if because now the whole thing being different, everything just like he's questioning everything. But then if nothing is different, he's been writing a description of what the differences are. Mm-hmm. Like he keeps trying to sit down to write work. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
He's like starts writing, like correcting the names in the thing, and he's just writing in the, cause a script has so much blank space.
Yeah.
He's just catches himself writing notes, like, kind of like, sometimes he kind of like, almost like, wakes up writing them, right? Like he just like, he's not really paying attention, and he's like, it's like something really bizarre and kind of like, that he doesn't necessarily, it'll be like lists of the names, but then it'll be, where is the mini mart? Like, why did the mini mart change? And then like, and he keeps on not looking at the mag. Like he just like, it's kind of like, he's kind of like, so a lot of it is just the headline. Like he's written the headline a bunch of times in the line, in like the notes of the thing, where it'll be like halfway through a name, he just wrote, Caldwell money problems, and then continues the name as if he hadn't interrupted it. He's just like,
yep. And I think you flip to a random page in the script.
Yeah.
You've been writing these notes, but the thing is, you definitely weren't writing any notes on this page. Like, you scrolled ahead a bunch, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you were like, I gotta just skip ahead to a different scene. I'm all distracted. I need to get to work.
Right.
So then why is Marlon Burnside's asking where the mini-mart is? Why is Aaron Thomas, laying out different, being like, the money is different, so how are we gonna get home? Yeah. All of these things, you're noticing the script is starting to ask questions, and you haven't touched this part.
Now, is this in the script or in my handwriting crossed, like the actual lines are crossed out and it's written in?
This is in the script. Like, the characters, because it's in the middle of a scene of like, we're gonna go over the hill.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go to Ray and Sons, which is not the same as Roy's, because Roy apparently gave this to Ray and Sons. And then we're going to keep our guns loaded, because we're going to wait and we're going to fire them when we're close.
Right.
And it's just in the actual script. There's just periodically lines of asking those questions.
Okay. So at this point, he suddenly becomes like convinced, like he just like very clear to him that this is some sort of prank show, or do you know what I mean? Like it's like some kind of like reality TV show where they do this weird like Twilight Zone type thing, but like there is just no way. And so he starts trying to find recording devices or cameras wherever they might be.
You tear the apartment apart. And this is like a violent montage of you tearing the apartment apart.
And I feel like he really tries not to, and then keeps like getting really frustrated and ripping like a thing out when there's nothing there. Like when he like, you know, he'll like bend back the thing from the couch, and then when there's nothing there, he like rips the cushion like out, and just like keeps losing his kind of like it keeps being him losing his cool. That keeps happening until he's just kind of like almost frothing and just like ripping the place apart.
And you tear the apartment apart, right? And eventually, like, you've unplugged the fridge, you've taken down the paintings on the wall, the sad clown paintings. You have, you know, you've torn through the pantry, and you've taken out the window air conditioning unit, until all that is left is that TV and that little Roku set-top box.
Yeah.
It is the only, like, you keep looking back at it. You keep almost taking it down, and then not taking it, and then not tearing it apart until that is all that is left. And the screen, I mean, you don't remember turning it on. And they said HBO Go was new. Maybe they signed up for it in the last 2 days. But it was gray 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Sure isn't gray now.
No. I feel like I'm like he doesn't want to see the thing in the paper, in the, what's it called? In the tabloid, because that's guaranteed to be personal. So I think he gravitates more, like, cause his bag is still at the door, right?
Yeah.
And like, he's torn apart everything else, but he kind of left his bag where it is. And then he kind of like goes towards the remote, and he sits down in front of the TV. Like there was a chair in front of it. It would have been very comfortable, but he, you know, flipped the chair over and pulled all the upholstery out. You know, he's going to be charged. There's no way that this is on, you know, his boss's credit card.
This is a 1-star rating.
This is a 1-star rating. But the card isn't attached to him.
Yeah.
It's attached to HBO Go, right?
Yeah.
And a division of HBO company. And instead, you know, he just sits there on the floor and kind of cranes his head up, and just hits the button that says HBO, that makes it go to HBO Go.
And, you know, there's series and movies, and there's the Max Caldwell collection.
I feel like
Spotlight.
His hand is shaking. Like he's like scrolling down, and it like pops up at the bottom of the screen, right? As he's like scrolling down to the M's, you know, and it's at the C's, so it catches him off guard.
Yep.
Like he was like scrolling kind of fast, and he sees it before it actually, you know, happens. Like his name right there, like, and it, he just, you know, kind of, his hand is shaking as he, after it pops up on the screen, as he hits the button, you know, the 3 times that it takes to get down. Yeah. Like, it's like he has to like steady his hand against his leg with his other hand, like, because he is, you know, violently shaking.
Yeah. And you hit it, And there's The Deadliest Sport, 1 season, 13 episodes. There's The Swordsman, 3 seasons, 39 episodes. There's Guns Over Guthrie, 2 seasons, 26 episodes. And then there's a short film, Old Guthrie's Road, Pennsylvania.
So,
and as you look at the selections, you hear a car outside. It pulls up. A voice that you recognize, the Uber driver's voice, says, "All right, man, I appreciate you. Have a great day. I hope you find what you're looking for out here." And you hear yourself respond. Maybe a little gravelier, maybe a little more tired. I hope so too.
Okay.
I think that might be seen.
Okay.
Thanks, Bass May. And thanks again to Wormtooth for coming onto the show. That game was, it was incredible. Stay tuned for part 2, where we unravel the mystery of this story and we come to the shocking and horrifying conclusion. It turns out really, really cool, and I can't wait to share it with you. That should be dropping later this week. Be sure to head to wormtooth.net to explore the story of the man in the long coat, listen to Wormtooth's music. It's all super cool. I can't recommend it enough. And check the show notes for links to more information about Lovecraftesque, the shared storytelling game of cosmic horror. All of that stuff is dope. Also, be sure to follow Wormtooth on Twitter @_Wormtooth. Then follow us at Party of One Pod. Like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/PartyOfOnePodcast. Join our Discord community at bit.ly/PartyOfOneDiscord. Talk to us about the show, professional wrestling, gritty, whatever you want to talk about. We're around. If you enjoy the show, consider leaving us a nice review on iTunes, Podchaser, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Telling a friend about the show, giving us some love on social media. All of those things help us do new, cool, bigger, better, awesomer things. And I really appreciate them. They make my whole day. Another way that you can support the show is monetarily by supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/JeffStormer. That supports not only the podcast that I create, but the games that I design, the community support work that I do, all of the things that I do in a given week, which is a lot of them, all of which are directly supported by patreon.com/JeffStormer. You can also listen to the other podcasts that I produce every week, All My Fantasy Children. All My Fantasy Children is a character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast powered by you. Every week, my best friend Aaron Catano Saez and I take a listener-submitted prompt, we spin it into an original fantasy character, and we populate a shared universe one story at a time. New episodes drop every Friday at allmyfantasychildren.com. Party of One is, of course, produced and edited, as always, by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. All music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Megaran, featuring the D&D Sluggers. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, press inquiries, or about coming onto the show yourself as a guest, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And that's it for me. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.